Well, hello friends and neighbors. John, your whiskey neighbor here, and welcome to my backyard. Today I want to talk to you about a cask strength scotch. This will be Glenfarclas 105. Well, as I said in the intro, thanks for joining me here in the backyard. Sounds of summer. Got the weed eater over there, the kids on the trampoline in the next yard. It's a good summer day. And if you follow the channel, you know that I tend to drink bourbons or Canadian whiskey through summer. But I've been kind of doing reviews on bourbons and Canadians, and I wanted to change up what I have this week, and I thought of some scotches, and maybe, well, we'll try some scotches. So this is Glenfarclas. You know, Glenfarclas is a very interesting distillery, and I really like to know more of their history. I know it's one of a few, family-owned distilleries. They're not big corporations, not part of, Beam Suntory, or like they're a small family-owned distillery, and I really appreciate that. Glenfarclas 105 is a cask strength scotch, and I would suggest it's shouldn't be the first scotch you try, but it's got some interesting things. It's the 105 refers to British proof. I believe 105, well, I know it's 60% ABV because it says 60% ABV, but I believe 105 proof was the mark at which you could add it to gunpowder and it would still light, like explode. I can't remember, but I think it's a testament to the test proof of scotch. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm a little bit worried that that's not right. Anyways, I think this came out in 1960s or 70s. I think end of the 60s, and was one of the first really barrel-proof scotches on the market. And it is, just that 60% ABV. It is no age statement. In fact, there's very little information on the bottle. Like, there's not even special story on the back or anything, or how this came to be. But it is, as I said, barrel strength or cask strength, 60% ABV. And Glenfarclas is known for aging its whiskey in sherry. And so I believe, rumor on it online is it's somewhere around an 8-year-old scotch, which is fairly young. But we'll see what we get on it when we taste it. As I was saying in the intro, I think sherried scotches are okay in summer. I'll drink any good scotch, but I think a nice sherried scotch pairs well. So this is poured just straight out of the bottle. Oh, and I will say, I have had this bottle open for almost half a year. And I opened it up, I had several pours, and then I let it sit really for about 3 months before I kind of got back into it. Let's see what I get on the nose now. Now I'm outside, so there's a lot of fresh air around. You know, for 60%, now, this is a good nose. It's all, actually caramel, like toffee almost comes up pretty quick, which is not what I usually get when I go into scotch. But quickly, fruits are going to come on it. And darker dried fruits, dried raisins, dried berries of some kind. A little bit of spice, some oak spice. Back into that caramel. So, for 60% ABV, now as I mentioned, the bottle's been open for a while. It plays quite nicely on the nose and really moves back and forth between those dried fruit notes and a caramelized, Werther's candy type nose. Actually quite delicious. Quite a nice nose, especially for 60%. Sláinte. This is when you're going to feel the heat, right? I took a very gentle sip to let it move all around in my mouth, but it's going to go pow. And it goes boom into, for me, actually a little bit of that spicy, oaky, which is surprising because it's so young, but that kind of cooked, baked spices. And then the fruit actually for me comes after the spice. Fruit now, cherries, berries. I read somewhere someone described it as fruitcake, and I can kind of go with that. You know, where you get that nutty, fruity, oily, heavy. Again, just baked, oaked, leathery. Yeah, a little bit of, you know, a nut that tastes like the husk is still on it. So what would that be? Like if I'm cracking Christmas nuts, walnuts, hazelnuts, you know what I mean? Like you crack them open, they're still kind of dusty. Like there's still that nut edge from the shell on it. It's not overly nutty. It's not like anything like peanut butter, like nothing like that. But what I mean is, if you're thinking of husk or wood, that little older something. Boy, I'm enjoying this, and rich coating in the mouth. Like this is 60%. I've had it open for a while, but it is, I could drink this whole thing, no water, in small sips, right? I'm clearly not like, ooh, let's drink this. I'm gently letting it, move over my tongue, slide down. Oh, and the finish is good. A little drying and a little bitter, but if I get past the bitter, what I'm left with, almost a char. Oh. So I'll tell you, when I thought, like, what am I going to pour to move off of bourbon? I thought, well, let's do something sherried. I tend to like sherried Scotch in summer. And then I knew that I had this kind of, in a sense, aging, but really opening up, waiting to be reviewed. So the way it is right now, I should do a little water. Absolutely, because honestly, I would suggest if you're not a big cask strength drinker, give it some water, and don't be afraid to give it water. Like maybe even more there. Like it has a lot, and at 60%, it hugs, burns, and if you're not taking those very careful, very measured sips, it's good. It's gonna say hello. So the fruit is a little sweeter. Yeah, just a little, almost moving away from those jammy, cooked, leathery, into more raspberry, strawberry. It's funny, it tinges my nose a little more now, which makes no sense whatsoever. It should tone down the alcohol. But I will say now, when I get in there, it actually kind of tinges a little bit more. I guess fresher. I'm not sure I like the nose better. This is a much smoother. That was a bigger sip, and still smoother, and really just goes into that lightly fruited, a bit peppery, sweet, honey sweetness now coming out a little bit, vanilla coming out a bit more now, toning the oak notes and that nut husk and that right off. I almost don't get it. Yeah. Oh, and there, actually, it became a little bitter. So, you know, I actually think Glenfarclas 105 is a really a must try if you're looking for some cask strength and you're trying to think, okay, like I want to expand my Scotch journey. I've had all the regular 12-year-old releases. I want something with a little more character, a little bit bitier and interesting. And you're maybe not a peat head, right? Like if you watch the channel and you know that I really am. I love my peat. I think this should be on your journey. I think Glenfarclas 105 is a must try. And the way it is right now, 6 months after opening, this to me easily a 4-star. Really, it is. Might even push higher. Like, I'm really liking it right now. However, there's tons of alcohol. It can actually, right now with the water, for me, it's a little bit bitter. And it's not particularly, there is layers to catch. I don't want to say it's simplistic, but it's a little bit simplistic. Excuse me. So, if you open this up, pour it, drink it, the alcohol is going to slap you around. It's going to be astringent and bitter and dried, fruity, almost puckering fruity. It's going to sit around 3 stars out of 5 if I was rating it right off the top. And I know, you know, if you tune in on YouTube, a lot of reviewers, and I'm included, talk a lot about opening up, and maybe it changes. And you know what? I think there's 2 changes that happen. One, our palate, and 2, the bottle itself. I would like to suggest to you that heavily sherried does change quite a bit with oxygen. To do that, you got to drink this thing down past the hip, right? Like you got to get in here, somewhere in here, and then leave it alone. I like this bottle. It's now the aftertaste is a little bit almost plasticky, which I don't like. So I could pull back. I'm gonna hold it at 4 stars for me. I still think it's a good value. I got this. I know where it sits on the shelf in Edmonton. The guy has it mispriced at $62. $62 for a 60% Scotch is awesome. And so I don't want to tell you where it is. No, he's only got 1 bottle left. No. Anyways, even if it's not in a special place like that, you know, I think it sits on the shelf now for somewhere around that $75 in Alberta. A little bit more money, but really you're getting a bottle and a half, so you can play with the proof a little bit if you like to with water. I still would say somewhere in your Scotch journey, you should try Glenfarclas 105. Early in the bottle, if you don't let it air, it really is very alcohol forward. Now, I think it's quite good. You might want to try it with water depending on your palate. I actually prefer it, but in very small sips, but just letting it coat and be in the mouth right the way it comes out of the bottle. Thanks guys for joining me here this summer day.